Welcome to Fast Effect Double Speed Magic the Gathering. Here we have Mike on Reanimator versus Tonyscapone with one of his builds of the Epic Gamble. He has tried just about every combination that you can. This is an Izzet build, but actually has Force of Will and Brainstorm in there. Obviously incredibly powerful cards. Creates a nightmare matchup for many decks in the format, having the ability to potentially turn one, but also stop you from your most explosive plays. And we see here a pair of Force of Wills. Grief. Gonna get rid of one of them. Still got Force blue card. Bunch of acceleration. Gristlebrand pitched for that grief. Really doesn't belong in your hand. You want to get that Gristlebrand into the graveyard as soon as possible. Faithless Looting can do that as well as Entomb. And, let's see how this works out. We have a Reanimate on Grief. Now, this line I'm typically unimpressed with in Reanimator, but I'm very curious about its utility in Death Shadow's builds. I actually think that could be totally reasonable in Death Shadow because you do, of course, have the counter spells and discard to control the game, whereas Reanimator, it does have discard, but if your opponent top decks something game winning, you are just not going to have anything to say about it. All your interaction is on their turn. We have Overmaster, just YOLOing it into nothing. All right, so that was a chance. Dark Ritual for Mike into Entomb, and this could be getting very bad. There goes Gristlebrand. Wrong order for you. Aficionados goes to the graveyard as it resolves. The Gristlebrand underneath it in any order, or in any case, I should say, regardless of the order of how that was resolved. A Gristlebrand is on the battlefield, slightly smaller thanks to the Animate Dead at drawing 7. Oh no! All right. So we have a Echo of Aeons put into the graveyard as Unmask can only choose the Echo. It's the only card in Tony's hand. And wow, we have a game now. Oh, wow. This is crazy. Tony could absolutely just draw the pure nuts, and there's nothing Mike could really say about it on his side. All of that discard's going to have to wait until it gets back to his turn, and that is no guarantee. Tony has an Echo in the graveyard. Absolutely brutal. Master converted into an Echo. And here we go. Storm 1, drawing 7. Also getting rid of the graveyard, which sometimes is quite good against Reanimator. Not quite as good once they already have their Gristlebrand and friends on board. Tony, just with what's on board, has 2 turns to live. Mike with a full grip. Obviously going to be very dangerous past the turn. Mostly because it'll mean that you're not capable of winning on your turn. Not likely to change too much. It's pretty much now or never. Or are those fringe cases like we just saw? I mean, anything can happen with the Epic Gamble. Very explosive deck. Overall, we should be expecting Tony to go for a win right now. Opponent hit you and then draw 7 more cards. Gristlebrand, not a good prospect. Here's a Bergie. Oof. This is super rough. So Bergie's on board. Tony's next turn could, in theory, be just that much better. All of his 0 drops, netting mana, 1-drop spells, hard, or mana neutral, costing 1 but adding 1. The Bergie. Mike gets to draw 7 cards here. Likely to just shred Tony's hands. He has access to Grief, Unmask, Thoughtseize, you name it. All sorts of discard. Force, Burning Wish, and another Burgie. This Burgie is potentially able to turn into the horn on the other side. Get interested. Like Evolving Entomb right now. I believe we had a Dark Ritual. All the spells by the book. Can't fail to find a card, I don't think, with Entomb. A card. You don't have to show it because it can be any card that does come up with things like Life from the Loam. Doesn't just have to be Archon of Cruelty. Take care of this Burgie Tony last turn. Interesting. So able to exhume, return a creature. Sack one, taking 3. Tony dead. A million different ways on the next turn. Another Archon would actually do it if he can get that into play. End it right now. And Tony actually scooping it up. So a white card. I'm guessing that's the new Angel, giving protection from card type of your choice. The most common. Could have been Archon, actually. I guess Archon is the most likely because there's 4 copies. Bit of a problem card for the Epic Gamble as well. A massive Thalia style card. Not quite as good. It does counter spells. You are allowed to play them. Chancellor of the Annex. As that trigger, you got to pay an extra 1. Spell is countered, so there are times where Thalia is obviously much stronger. For example, you can make your spells uncounterable for the rest of the turn. You can actually just plow forward. And Thoughtseize is getting Brainstorm in response. Classic Firefight, low to the ground, super strong 1-mana spells. Archon of Cruelty for anyone not familiar with the Modern Horizons 2 bomb. Greatly helping the Reanimator builds. Tony has a pair of ley lines and hides a card that's worse than Expressive Iteration, perhaps. Burning Wish and Chromox, along with a Ancient Tomb still in hand. Thoughtseize takes the Expressive Iteration. No surprise. Is a incredibly strong card. Those 2-for-1s really add up, particularly in tempo decks. I don't know that this is the optimal build of the Epic Gamble in a unknown meta. There's definitely trade-offs between all of the different color combinations that Tony has tested. Really understanding where a particular deck might be at its best is a interesting exercise. This is very grim. Pair of ley lines on the board, holding things together. It's really the only thing Tony's got going for him. Oh no. Serenity. Oh, this is super rough. Tony may be considering scooping here. And this is really bad. He'll probably wait until Mike actually gets a creature into play, but when you have double Leyline and your opponent has Serenity. Oh, yeah, that's an error. jammed a Lion's Eye into the Serenity. He's probably just checked out mentally at this point. Just keeping it going because it's a feature match. Definitely did not consider that. So down an LED. I guess we'll see in the final analysis whether or not that LED would have ended up making a difference. This may just not matter what Tony does from here. Such bad shape. Narset comes down. And if that was an Echo, then that LED would have been very, very strong. Best possible. So he actually finds an LED with Narset. Plays it. He's going to have a draw step and a Narset activation to try and find an Echo. Does so with Narset on board. I mean, she is pretty rude. Oh, Pyroblast takes out the Narset. Another LED. Oh, and another Serenity. Oh man, taking out double LED. Rough. Now Dark Ritual. This can't be good. Exhume. Bring back Gristlebrand. No creatures in the graveyard for Tony. Drawing a fistful of cards. Conveniently, Narset not on board. Monitor the situation, and we've got a -7 for Gristlebrand, and then Reanimating Chancellor. Wow. Aggressive. I'm not saying it's incorrect, but that is aggressive. And that will do it. No chance of pulling back into the game with Gristlebrand and Chancellor on board. Wow. Reanimator really looking strong there, and Serenity looking just backbreaking.